Hello, hello.
Blueies and showies, we are back and we are talking all things basketball, the NBA.
It's in the game.
EA Sports.
NBA. It's in the game. Okay, cool. So NBA has started. I think we're about 10, 12 games into it. It's been a great start.
10, 12 games, that's an eighth of the way through.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's only been about 2 weeks. Yeah, it's been about 2 weeks. But no, it's a great start. The teams that we expected to do well are doing well. Well, there's been a couple, and we'll discuss that. One of the things that's been really interesting for me has been this new in-tournament, which is at the start of the season, just to get everyone rocking and rolling, taking it serious and not just going 80 games, so the first 40 we're not going to bother. They've got this in-tournament, which you get
in-season tournament,
you get 6 groups from East and West, and the top team from each goes through, and the two best runners up. Quarterfinals, semi-finals, then a semi and final at Vegas with cash prizes. But what it does, apart from the different shots and the different courts to make it look a bit fancy, it means you've got your best team on the floor for that whole game, because they have points.
Well, that's the idea.
They have points difference, right? Now, when in the last 50 years in basketball has points differential made any difference? It hasn't. It's win and loss. No one cares, right? So once you're 20 points up, you bench your first team, right? And with the fourth quarter to go, they don't play.
Yeah.
Protect them. Keep them rested. Don't get injured. And the in-season tournament, which I love, you can be 20 points up and you want it to get to 40 because points differential matters in this, because there's only 4 games in the group. And unless you win all 4, there's no guarantee you're going to get through.
Yeah.
And because there's 2 wild cards for the best runners up, you want to have the highest points differential. And I love that, because it just, what you want to see the best players on the field. You want to see the best players on the field the whole game. And I get why you drop them if you're down 30 or you're up 30. I get that. But we don't want to see the reserves playing. We want to see the good teams playing, and we want to see them pushing. I saw 152 to 155 the other day with the Atlanta Hawks versus the Pacers. Right?
Was anyone defending that?
No. No one even went back. They just all stayed at the halfway line. But anyway, but what I'm saying is that's people that just keep going and keep going and keep going. Now, okay, that's a ridiculous score, right? Over 300. But keeping your best players on the park, I think, and at this time of the season, everyone's excited. It's just got everyone really motivated about the league. And when we always moan about the NBA having far too many games, this is a great way of making a bit of seriousness out of these early games. So that's my kind of 2 cents worth.
I really like the idea. If you think about an FA Cup or Carling Cup running within a season, albeit not adding to the games. For me, I think they should still...
You get 1 extra game because the final's not actually part of the end of the season, but everything else is.
That's fine, but I do think as a league, they should still shrink the game by 20 games.
Oh, I agreed. I think most people agree.
Yeah.
But it's not about necessarily the amount of games, it's about the amount of relevant games, exciting
100%.
games. But the fans all show up, you get sellout crowds. I watched Miami Heat. I watched that game, Miami Heat, the other day, and it was a half-empty stadium, right? Pointless game, early in the season, and against a Portland or something like that, where no one wants to really go out and see them, and it's dead, right? Whereas you go to Old Trafford, you go to Ibrox, you go somewhere like that, because they only play 19 home games in the season, they're absolutely full every time.
And different countries, different styles on how they operate. I like the idea. Obviously, we'll see how it works out. I think still shrink the season by 20 games and just ease up on the colours of those fucking of those courts. Sometimes I can't see the fucking ball.
Again, it's supposed to be edgy. It's supposed to be edgy. The Bulls court got a real red flag, and I used red as the word.
You can't see the ball.
Red.
The ball disappears in the red, doesn't it?
It was horrible. And even the Celtics one, because Celtics are synonymous with the kind of hard court image,
I love the old school,
which everyone loves. That old school looking like it's the old wooden hard court.
Yeah.
When it went bright, I'd say bright, but dark green all across it. It looked pretty like funeral-like. It was pretty poor. It's not a very nice colour, that dark green.
Yeah.
And especially when your whole coat's that colour. Yeah. So it didn't look great. Some of them have been awesome and some of them have been poor.
It's a good idea.
The most important thing is it's made the start of the season exciting rather than let's just wait till we get excited.
I'm all for trying new ideas. Yeah. They should try it and then you can adapt it.
And everyone predicted at the start of the season, watch LeBron and LA Lakers. They're terrible squad, terrible team, but LeBron will want to win this trophy because he's a winner, right? Now, the only team in the whole of the groups at the moment is 4-0, the Lakers.
The Celtics.
Celtics are 2-1. But the Lakers are 4-0 and they're through top of their group, which was a tough group. They had the Suns in it and stuff. And the Jazz, decent teams. But look who's always shows up for when there's a trophy on tap.
Yeah.
LeBron James playing out of his skin at the moment.
He's a freak, mate. For me,
but you watch, and again, this would be my prediction. once the in-season tournament's done, and if they win it or they lose it, whatever, you watch these minutes will drop for a while down to the 20, 30 minutes a game until we get near 50, 60 games into the season and he knows what he needs to do to make the playoffs. Yeah. Then he starts bigging it up.
I mean, he knows how to manage himself so well, but he's running on fumes at the moment.
What did you think about the new rules?
New rules, two main rules for anyone not too familiar with the NBA. One is the flop. So certainly my biggest frustration with the NBA is when people talk about the glory days of the 90s and the physicality that came along with that, very much like any other sport. As sports have become more professional, athletes have got more refined, and therefore we want to protect them from a sort of physicality point of view. However, what players like in football have done is they've taken advantage of the rules and flopped, basically, as they call it in America. And it's really sort of been frustrating because you've got guys that are literally jumping into a defender when they're shooting the ball. Great if it goes in and they get the foul, but equally you're buying a foul basically because it's an unnatural throw or an unnatural technique, basically. So I'm a massive fan of that.
Players like Harden over the years have been brilliant at shooting the three, knowing it's going in, and then getting the extra point because he's jumped into you and cut the foul. I watched it again the other day and I saw the guy try something similar, nailed the free but fell over, and they got docked. The other person went to the free throw line. Yeah. That takes that straight out of the game because instead of that being a free, it's now a 2-point pointer because they get the point back, right?
Huge
so
fan of that.
That's a great rule. The taunting one is a bit different more because. What's your idea of taunting? That's the referee's idea.
Well, for me, I mean, I think we spoke about it in the previous podcast about football, where again, between refs and stuff. Look, I get it certainly when it comes to refs, but the idea of sport is that it's highly competitive. These are professional guys that are literally putting their emotions on the table for us to watch and for them to display. Taunting within reason is absolutely fine. It's you can
gene up the team. Yeah, the Roy Keane tackle.
Yeah, when you slam down a dunk and you scream out, it doesn't necessarily have to even be at the guy. Yeah. But if you're going, I'm here, and you're making your presence felt, that should absolutely be allowed. There was a play about 2 weeks ago. Anthony Edwards, the sort of superstar for the Timberwolves, absolutely monstrous dunk. Then sort of screamed. Then look, the guy that he was looking to block was in range, should we say. I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. And he got docked for that. And Tom Brady and LeBron James all tweeted going, it's absolute bullshit.
I saw one yesterday as well, which was funny because there was two players under the guy. Now he's dunked and he's hung on the rim because there's two players underneath him. Now if he jumps straight off, he lands on one of them and he's probably getting a suspension. Yeah. For breaking the ribs and putting them out of the game. So he hangs on for a bit more, and it did look a bit elaborate. He did a chin-up, obviously, but there was players underneath him. Yeah. And he jumps down, and they gave the other team the free throw, right, for taunting.
Yeah, there's always been one about hanging on the rim.
Yeah,
right? but I agree with you.
But again, I think that poor guy was like, well, if I hadn't done that, I'm jumping on people. There was people underneath me, but the rules are the rules now, and it's like, well, you hung on it. And he goes to the referee and tries to obviously played his case and name me a time in this world where the referee's ever been wrong.
Yeah, but also
so he didn't win.
Imagine you're on the sort of wing, mate, and you cut in and you fucking jump up and you slam one down against fucking Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Do you want to just fucking walk back to your side of the court? No, you're going to be like,
I know, but I don't get that. But because they're allowed to do some things, they're allowed to do the small man sign when they dunk over someone, but they're not allowed to do the rah when they've nailed one. I also think it's very difficult because America is very much USA, right? Grow up. So you watch the NFL, they have a stop and they act celebrate they've won the Super Bowl, right? The small wins in America, right? Because it's such a tough market, and to get to that level, you've got to celebrate the wins, and I get that. But it's a very over-animated country. Yeah. And now just to change the rules to stop it, and they're doing the same with the celebrations in the NFL, right? Yeah. They're finding you, or they're docking you yards and stuff, right? But to just change a culture overnight is not going to happen, right? This needs to happen at college and high school and even primary school and say, right, that's not cool. We don't do that anymore. And then the kids coming through and then the adults coming through won't do it. But to do one day till LeBron James, who's been playing for 20 years in the league, can't celebrate like that anymore. Yeah. It's going to be hard, naturally. It's going to be hard to change your actions, which are second nature.
It's the emotion of any sport.
Of course, winning's winning.
And like I say, within reason, like I said about sort of football, people often that are making the decision with VAR, they've not played the sport. You've not played it at that level. Neither have I. But
You came pretty close, didn't you, though, those old Saffas.
Joburg United basketball.
When you were overdosing the biltong. You were overdosing the biltong. You got 2 year ban for too much biltong.
If it was only my knee, I could have thrown that.
Hey, bro, you can't play for 2 weeks because you're on the biltong.
I could have thrown that pigskin a quarter mile, bro, over the mountains. But for me, they need to get a little bit of be sensible with it. But it's certainly a massive flounder, the flop.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think for greater good of the game, they're good rules. Right, okay, next one, Pooch. Let's talk about your top contenders and how they're tracking so far. I think we're maybe 15% into the season now, so it's a good kind of litmus test to say we've seen them all play a number of games. I think you picked Celtics, Bucks, Nuggets and Suns as your big four, 2 from the East and 2 from the West. How would you say all 4 of them are tracking? Let's start with the Celtics.
My boys, certainly very excited. Glad to see what I'm seeing. Tingus Pingus, if anyone's not too FA with that, when Porzingis was drafted. When
KP's nuts.
When Porzingis was drafted by the Knicks, and there's a famous video going around of this guy going, Tingus Pingus, who the fuck is this guy? But he's, he looks healthy. He pulled out of the World Cup for Latvia. He looks like he's got more meat around the bone than he did earlier on in his career. Look, I know it's tough. He
also looks, if I don't mind interjecting, it looks like he's got assists in him now, where he used to just be shoot the free or drive, right? And now, whether that's the coach or that's playing in the Celtics with really good players around him, it looks like he's got an assist in him. And if he's got an assist in him, then he's a poor man's Jokic, but he becomes more of a Jokic player, right? Where it opens up the whole floor for everyone else.
100%,
but if he's one-dimensional, two-dimensional, shoot the free or drive, then it's different. But it does look like he's willing to play the ball, pass it around. And you need to fit in that Celtics team, you need to pass because it's team-first mentality.
But when you think about that, I think it was the first or second game, back to his old neck of the woods at the Madison Square Garden, and he's literally launching threes from about 35 feet out. And then he's 7'2", so no one's guarding that.
No, when he's hot, he's hot. He does hit a lot of rain dance and white chocolate ones as well, though.
Yeah, but you can throw those in. But the connection that he seems to have with Jaylen Brown seems to be really excited about the team. And what we're seeing on the other side is we're seeing Derek White and Drew Holiday having a bit of a dispute on who's going to have the most blocks and steals. So the two boys seem to be really competing with each other, but in the right way.
Oh, that's superb.
Team connection looks great. What I would like to see and continue to see is just, and I saw it against, we've lost against probably the worst teams that we should.
Your 3 losses are all against dogs, right? And you lost in overtime to the Hornets the other day. We've got a bunch of dogs.
We've got a tendency of playing down.
That's an attitude problem. You absolutely smoked the Bucks today, who are the second best team in the East.
They've got a tendency of really playing down to the opposition. Yeah. So, what I mean, when you know you're playing rubbish, you go, I'm not up for it.
Yeah.
So look, I don't.
Which again, and this is what plays into what my point about the in-season tournament. When the in-season tournament's on, people take that game very, very serious, and they play the best team, top 5 stay on the court much longer. When you do have 80 games, you know you can lose games, or you know you can thumb them in, right? And you go, right, well, it's just the Hornets, it's just that, and then all of a sudden you're in the 4th and you're not even. You're like, this is a big game. Whereas they went to the 76ers and dominated, won that game. They beat the Bucks today easily, even though it was a 3-point game in the end. But again, they've done all the damage early.
Yeah.
They seem to know how to control games. And if the only weakness they have is taking the foot off the gas against crap teams, then that's a great problem to have.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I'm still mindful of is just making sure that we can score the easy points outside of a 3. So if the 3s aren't working for the team as a whole, Hauser and Pritchard are great 3-point.
Well, I was going to say the thing that would be worrying when it gets to playoffs and stress games and clutch moments is Hauser's shooting like 60% from 3 at the moment.
So can we get a couple of easy?
Hoffa's nailing threes as a B team's nailing threes. It seems to be that when you're resting your top 5, you're just shooting threes, and they are nailing it at the moment. They're really high percentage, but in the playoff games and in the clutch games, the big games, they just don't go in. They don't. You don't shoot at that same level. So they need to have a plan B for the B team.
Yeah. So I just want to see a bit more damage, but it's early on in the season.
And what about the Bucks? Who the Celtics beat today?
Yeah, the Bucks are the team that I've I don't think it's doubling up, isn't it? But I'm less confident in the Bucks to my big 4, probably the most.
But to be fair, the one thing I would say is you've nailed the number 1 in the East at the moment. Celtics number 2 in the East is the Bucks. So you're
I dare say
so far in this point, you've still got you've nailed it. But I mean, they were hard picks.
I dare say it doesn't take a genius to work that out. I mean, we'll speak about the 76ers shortly, but the Bucks obviously trading for an elite shooter, Drew Holiday, then coming to the Celtics via a three-way trade after the Blazers. I think the key concern.
Sorry, the Glazers.
The Blazers. Did I say the Glazers or the Blazers?
You did say the Blazers. You've got the Glazers on. You've got the Glazers on
the
the mind.
Glazers are always on the mind, mate. Trust me, and not for good reason. But them losing a really key defender, but equally still the challenge remains for them is whilst they've got an elite shooter in Damian Lillard, I'm sure he will come right. I think he's been a bit indifferent. He's been a bit hot and cold.
He's under the numbers at the moment.
Yeah, but the reality is, when you play against the Cavs or a Celtics, when they've got really athletic wings, they just don't have the players that can come out to the perimeter that can really guard those. Because
the one thing I would say, and I'm no expert, but the Bucks are definitely weaker without Drew Holiday. I think he was the life and soul of that squad as well.
Yeah.
But you can see how much it's an embarrassment of riches in defence at the moment for the Celtics because they've got White and Drew, and like you said, they're arguing who's going to take the steal or who's going to take the ball.
Yeah.
The Bucks are missing it. They're very good on the offensive side, but Beasley's not a defender. And Lopez is for such a big man. He's probably better on the offense than he is in the defense for rebounds.
Yeah.
And they're just missing that dog, which Drew Holiday was. Middleton can maybe have to be that guy now, and it looks like he's certainly doing less on the offense. I don't know if he's good anywhere near as good as Drew Holiday.
When you look on the bench again, it's older heads. So
and it's a big drop in class from Drew Holiday.
Yeah, well, 100%. But you're also not getting that maybe as much sort of zest or youth of sort of enthusiasm and guys that are really twitchy. And
they're also in that position. There's a lot of people that have won a championship with them, and that's
a positive.
Yeah, that's a positive because you've got experience. But it's also a hard thing because you've done it. There's not that I need to do this. That internal drive that Tatum has, that Brown has, that the Celtics have. No one on that Celtics bench, apart from the people they've signed this season, have won a chip, right? Yeah. So those guys have that mentality. The coach, every one of them wants to win a championship. So I think that dog in them is better than the Bucks, who have 5 or 6 who've been there and done it. But moving on to the West, we have the Nuggets and the Suns. You picked them as your top 2 from the West. How are you thinking about the Nuggets?
Nugs. Oh God, I've always had a soft spot, as you know, for both the Nugs and the Blazers out in the West. Not the Glazers, the Blazers out. The Blazers. God, I mean, it sound like the Glazers, but the Nuggets. I love the Nugs.
I love the nightlife. I love the Nuggets.
Good start to the defence, albeit the team in terms of who's been on the floor has been a bit indifferent. I think
Murray's not been around a lot, has he?
Murray's been injured, so they have to have Murray for me to win the comp again.
100%. And shooting well as well. He needs to be your Lillard in that team. He shoots a lot of threes when they were doing that. Jokic will be Jokic. He'll get 10 assists, his 10 rebounds, and his 30 points. But that won't win you games if your teams will allow him to be there.
Porter's too hot and cold.
He averages at 15. He needs to average 20. Yeah. But
he can have a 30.9. He can have a 10.9.
Murray's your star. When they won the championship last year, they're both averaging over 25 points.
The guys coming off the bench, contributors one way or another. They've got a really well-rounded team.
I like Gordon. He's a big unit as well.
Gordon, yeah. Look, they've just got players that are good squad players. Yeah, it's not all.
And everyone says obviously the home games are hard because the Mile High City, it's very difficult, and they're obviously used to that, so they have a bigger advantage than most teams have. A home advantage. Everyone plays on a basketball court. It feels the same. There's a definite advantage to playing home games.
Like the Celtics and the Celtics, not only just in the Eastern Conference, but overall want to get top spot and have the best record. To have that extra home game in the playoffs,
and in the finals, if you're the number 1 team overall, and both
that's what
you do not want to be got the Nugs 4 times.
No, exactly, mate. Exactly. And finally, the
Suns. Yes. So what's been the problem there? Because again, I think everyone looked at the squad and the players that they brought in, but not the big 3 haven't played together yet. So what's the main concern there?
Well, the fact that they haven't played together. You've just answered your question there, G-Mac. But I mean, I think that's the issue. Are we going to see the next Clippers in terms of guys that are indifferent, resting, or injured, and therefore chemistry relies most heated times in the playoffs, and they're just going to fall short? Time will tell. I like the trade of Ayton out and them getting a few pieces back in Nurkic and the like. I think that sort of added a bit of depth, and especially when Ayton was going to play a big role in that sort of team with Beal, Durant, and Booker.
Yep.
So look, great team on paper.
Yeah.
Probably my only concern with them is again commitment, health, and synergy, basically, just in terms of getting games under their belt.
Yeah, what I've seen so far is Booker has taken on the role as the point guard now and the assister, right? He's still capable of his 25, 30 points, but he's not going to shoot 40, 50 anymore, right? When he was in a one-man team, he was shooting 50 and 60 points, right? And had to if they were going to win games. And then they built him a team, which was CP3 and Aiton and stuff, and that dropped down to about 30, 40, but he was still the drive first, shoot first.
Yeah.
Now he's happy to be the point guard and pass, but still get his 20, 25.
But I think if once Beal gets going, that'll be his role.
Well, I mean, we might see that, but I agree with your point. So I think Nurkic has been a great signing. Durant is, when he's fit and healthy, which he is at the moment, is the best player in the league. He's just so good. Yeah. He shoots from anywhere. He drives, he assists, he rebounds. He's 7-foot genius. But again, if they're playing him 40 minutes every night, he's going to break down. That's just what happens. Same with AD at the Lakers. You've got to manage his minutes, and at the moment they're not because Beal's injured, right? Because Booker's been injured. So if they're going to win the West or get close to near the top of the West and have a good push, they're going to need a fit squad.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
Right, and then moving on from the four biggies, let's move on to your next segue, because let's talk about probably on paper the best team, but haven't won a game since they've had this dream team, the Paperclips, the LA Clippers.
You couldn't have probably had a more astute item or sort of thing to refer to them as the Paperclip, because they've got no backbone, these boys. But so
they send James Harden to a team that already has Hall of Famer Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook, right?
Yeah.
You add another Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer, and James Harden. You go, that's four genius players.
Yeah.
Surely this is the best team in basketball.
Yeah.
Why is it so bad?
Well, look, it's early days, but I think what we'll do is, like, James Harden, for all his glory days, which are certainly over for the most part, he showed a few bright sparks against the Celtics last year with a couple of big 40-point games. But when it matters most, he's shown not to pitch up, not to rock up, not to deliver. He's got zero big match temperament, BMT. And he's had this, which is, look, the way the NBA rolls is that it is very much a players-dominated league. And he's had control of teams and cultures, players that have come in and out, and yet has resulted in zero championships for a guy with so much talent. The best thing we can probably do, and a guy that can articulate far better than I can, and it's so good to actually hear this from the media, which I don't think ever comes down and plays hard enough in the NBA, is the Timberwolves announcer.
The Mavs announcer.
Brian Damaris.
Do you know the Mavs announcer?
Yeah, he's the Mavs commentator who basically said, "I'd like to talk to you directly, James." And this is actually what he said.
Ask the producer to pipe this into the Clippers locker room so I can talk to you, James. I hope you're taking notes. I'm telling you in advance, you're welcome for the wisdom I'm about to spew. Because, listen, I get on my knees every night and pray for someone to believe in me like Daryl Morey believed in you. You wanted a certain coach, they brought in Mike D'Antoni. You want to play a certain style, they played it. You wanted Dwight Howard, they brought him in and got rid of him when you were tired of him. You wanted Chris Paul, they brought him in and got rid of him when you were tired of him. They brought in your old friend Russell Westbrook. You want to go to Vegas on off days? They looked away. You wanted the team to stay over so you could go out at night. They changed the schedule, and it didn't work. And you know what? You said, I'm going to break up with my whoopee. Not good enough. I see the bright lights in New York. I want to go there. My old pal, Kevin Durant. It's going to work. The big three. And all after 1 year, you wanted out. You realized, oh my gosh, I took this guy for granted, the guy that believed in me. I went back with Daryl Morey. They traded Ben Simmons for you. How did they pull that off? And you know what? You went there and you got a partner who got the MVP. He won the MVP. And what did you say afterwards? You said, they didn't hand me the reins. You're the point guard. You were holding the reins. And what did you do when you had the reins? You scored 9 points in Game 7 against Boston. You blew a 3-2 series lead. So they fired their coach. Not good enough. You broke up with your guy, believed in you again. You said, the bright lights of LA, that's where I want to go. Let's see if that works. Listen, James, have you ever had those friends who had bad roommates? Over and over, they complained about their bad roommates. This guy's terrible. The bad roommate here. They never thought to be self-aware enough that they're the bad roommate. They're the problem. Hey, James, you're the problem. If this doesn't work this year in this system with this team, then you're going to go and point fingers at everybody else, and you're going to go back home and you're going to start swiping right for another team, and there's not going to be anybody left. Because, James, You're not the beard. You're not the system. You're the problem.
Oh, and the mic drop, Devin.
Now, mate, I mean, when you think about what he said there, what are your thoughts? I mean, he spoke about the
Yeah, well, I mean,
Dwight Howard coming in and
it's indicative of obviously someone who's passionate about basketball and who knows basketball and cares about it. It's probably more of a sonnet, a love letter to say, look, mate, that you are delusional, right?
Yeah.
You are the problem, and until you realise that, you are actually only ever going to be a loser. It wasn't a fuck you, right? It was a this is how you're going to get better. Realise you're the problem. Try and be a part of the jigsaw rather than the odd piece that just doesn't fit. You've been the odd piece 15 times. You're now too old to build a team around you. So fit into a team.
But he referred to the roommate thing. I mean, if we translate that to our game, should we say our careers, which is recruitment, when you've got a candidate that calls you up and you think's quite talented, right? They've got good companies or good skills, good education.
But they've lasted 6 months at each one.
They've had a million jobs.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Boss was a dick. This one was a dick. This one was a dick. This one was a dick. You go, well, you're not taking any responsibility.
Not once have they ever been an issue, been a problem, not performed. It's always been other factors.
I got made redundant. Why? Oh, I don't know. I was doing great. Okay.
Right.
I agree. And I think it's good comments. But I do actually think it comes from love rather than anger or jealousy. That speech, he is telling them, you can still be great. You are great.
Yeah.
But you need to fit into a team and not start making everyone else change who they are.
Yeah.
You need to find your place in a team. And you didn't do it at the Rockets. You didn't do it at the 76ers. Do it now at the Clippers.
Nets.
Didn't do it at the Nets. Do it at the Clippers. But again, if the one thing I'd say about Russell Westbrook is he's tried to change. He's obviously, as the MVP and best player at the Oklahoma City Thunder for a long time, he did think his shit didn't stink. He was on big money, and his first couple of transfers, he was like, I'm going to be the man, triple-double, all that stuff, but you're losing. He's now found his role at the Clippers, and he's actually doing really, really well. He had been until Harden joined, right? And allowing Paul George and Kawhi to take the ball, and he was shooting much better from free when he got the chance, right? His numbers were better because he wasn't expected to do it. So it was like a odd one here and there. But his defence was elite, and his passing was elite. His assists were which it always has been.
Yeah.
But he'd been doing a lot less shooting because you've got Kawhi and PG. Now, you add in Harden, who, to be honest, over the course of his career is probably a better shooter than both PG-13 and Kawhi Leonard. But he's done, right? And also he needs the ball more than both. And Kawhi and PG have been finding it difficult over the last few years, one, to stay on the court healthy and to understand who's the boss and who's not and get that team dynamic. Feels like it was just starting to look good with Westbrook as the third piece and some good squad players around them. Now you've added another prima donna into that, and it's like me, and they're going straight back to the bottom of the ladder. Not results, but I mean just in general of and
there's been
team culture, and now they need to build that up.
Yeah.
And I mean it's like signing Cristiano Ronaldo at Man United. Oh, it's great on paper, but you didn't need him, didn't fit into the team, and it was a problem. It was a bad pick, right? Bad signing.
Well, it's funny,
but who turns down Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Who turns down James Harden?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, I mean, you look at Ime Udoka, who left the Celtics to go to the Rockets. Apparently,
he didn't want him.
Yeah, he didn't want him. So,
that's smart. That's a good coach.
And when you go,
I think the Clippers should have said no.
Fred VanVleet, far better, more consistent player, a guy that you can build.
He scores nowhere near the points, but
overall,
you can plan to someone that has a floor of 10 and a ceiling of 25, right?
Yeah.
When you have a guy who could get you 0 or 40, it's difficult to plan your team around it, right? Certainly in playoffs, but where again against the Celtics, they were 3-1 up or 3-2 up, right? I think they were 3-1 up, and he'd had 2 monster games. And I remember we were talking and I picked them.
Less than 10 points in the last game.
Combined, I think he was terrible the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Absolutely threw it away, disastrous. And that's James Harden's career. He's done that his whole career. When he's never been clutch.
Yeah, and then when we think about the team that he's left, right, and we spoke about Harry Kane and the Spurs in the earlier podcast, right? You think about Harry Kane leaving Spurs. Spurs are fucked. They are going to absolutely... Now, I'm not comparing... You'd probably say Embiid is more the Kane of the 76ers. But when you take a player out, I always think it allows the other parts of the team to stand up and be accounted for. When you got a guy like
possibly, but I think you used the wrong analogy with the Spurs one. I would use Man United and Paul Pogba as a different one, right? On paper, Paul Pogba is the best player in the world, and everyone like Gary Neville every year is going to be player of the season, And you took him out the team and Man U got better.
Yeah.
Right? They sold him, good riddance,
Yeah.
team got better.
Yeah.
No one
culture.
on paper, no one thinks losing Paul Pogba from your team makes your team better.
Yeah.
But it did. Right? And no one thinks realistically that 76ers had a chance after losing Harden, and they are miles better. Maxi's now getting the ball, and he's looking like a star.
Mate, I really, I mean...
And we'll move into that. We'll segue into the 76ers.
As much as I hate 76ers, being a Celtics fan, I'm not a massive fan of them, but I really like Maxi. I think he'll be he is now and certainly will be a star in the future.
We've segued into them, but we haven't done my Nick Nurse. Only you alone that I can trust. Okay, so Nick Nurse, new coach of the 76ers. They're better off for it. Now losing Harden.
This is the best thing that could have happened for him.
Yeah. For Maxey, Tyrese Maxey.
Well, it's the best thing that could have happened for Nick Nurse.
Nurse.
It means that you're not answering questions every 5 minutes about
is he
Harden,
coming back? Is he playing? Is he in Vegas?
What kind of game is he going to have today? Why has he scored 5 today? Why has he scored 40 the next day?
Yep.
It allows Maxey to take on more of a role.
Has he turned out a much better player than everyone thought?
Who?
Maxey. Because he wasn't a high draft, but he's a Kansas point guard.
Yeah,
but he's turned out. He looks like a real star.
Right, he is rapid.
Yeah,
Jesus, I don't think I've seen maybe only
De'Aaron Fox. I was going to say, they're going to talk pace. De'Aaron Fox is number one.
I mean, honestly, Maxey is rapid. But
and again, De'Aaron Fox is another Kansas point guard as well. They absolutely produce them. Devin Booker
produced some fast boys, but Tobias Harris, for instance, was signed for $185 million for 5 years,
which cost them Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, so Rascal this in now. Tobias Harris for me is built in the same frame as Jason Tatum, has all the same sort of nuances in how he plays. But when you number 4, he has a game of 15, he averages around 10. Now he's got a chance to be a 15, 20 point a game guy. This is where he should really deliver. He has stepped up. I just think as a team, as a culture, rather get more guys involved, a far better coach. Honestly, I would have loved him to join the Celtics.
I think that's the only thing Celtics are missing is a stud coach.
Yeah. Nick Nurse, I think Philly, off the back of that, are still in with a chance in the East. Albeit,
is it too late for Philly though, or do they still have enough pieces there?
Well, I think
to have a chance this year, or do they need to build for the future?
It's potentially late for Philly in the sense that if it doesn't work out, does Embiid leave? They've had multiple first-round picks. When we think about, they've had the Hardens, they've had the Ben Simmons, they've had the chap they drafted number 1, who's now at Orlando Magic, who I've forgotten about. That was traded as far as the Celtics went from number 1 to number 3 and got Jason Tatum. They drafted the point guard, who was a bit of a flop in the end. So they've lost the opportunity to really take advantage of this, inverted commas, the process that they wanted to go through by tanking and then building up.
Yep.
I don't think
the team's too good to tank now.
Yeah, but they'll never reach the heights.
Yeah, and there've been no draft picks because of the bad the bad trades.
However, I dare say they're still in with a decent.
I think if you've got an MVP and you've got Maxey, who could be, and again, if Tobias Harris shows up, there's your big three right there.
So
they've got a chance.
1 or 2 players.
And again, if they come third or fourth in the East, then that means they're playing Celtics or Bucks and the Eastern Conference Finals rather than early doors. Yeah. And then it's just a game of 4, and then you've got the final in the West. And the problem is at the moment the West is stacked, as is the East. So it used to be over the last few years the East was stacked, and we assumed that the winner was going to come from the East for the last few years. Yeah. Now the Nuggets, the Suns, the Lakers, the East. It's very even. But what I mean is, it used to be the 4 or 5 best teams were all in the East. Now, and if you won the East, you thought you're going to win it. Now the West is just as stacked. So there's some right good teams. It's a very exciting league.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to the next one, and this one's a funny one because I watched this game, and before even a point had been scored, we had Draymond Green putting his favourite guy, Rudy Gobert, in a chokehold.
Little sleeper.
Yeah. Now, I didn't like the initial interaction which caused it, which was Thompson and the other guy just being a bit handsy with the shots and then throwing it around. But Draymond, with his, let's say, bad record like Roy Keane's, right? You know what I mean? Like it's just bad, right? There's no need to do it. And you got a 5-game ban when they were already missing Curry with injuries and stuff. What was your take on that?
But I think the guy that for the life of me, I should have wrote down his name, for the Timberwolves that were trying to wind up. That is Klay Thompson. Apparently, he's got a bit of a short fuse. So the idea was, a typical old men team, and the fact that what we're going to do is we're going to stamp our authority on the game. We're the big boys still on the block. We're going to physically dominate you, and then we're going to take advantage. It all kicked off. Draymond Green, I think, even being pulled off and ejected earlier on in the season. That's only a few games in. He's had a few signs of obviously mishap.
But he's got a seriously bad record when Steph's not on the court. And they've said that I think it's more than 50%, or not, I think it's 60 or 70% of his ejections have been in games where Steph's not there.
Yeah.
And the question is,
it's
can he be bothered? Can he be bothered playing in a game if Steph's not there? Because he assumes they're going to lose, he doesn't want to play.
Well, it's just, I don't know.
Or is he taking on too much responsibility as the leader because Steph's not there and he can't handle that, so he's over the top?
He's trying to overcompensate for a team that doesn't have enough
skill.
Klay Thompson, unfortunately.
You don't win basketball games with physical. It's a non-contact sport.
No, but
you don't win it with physicality. Now you can scare them, right? And you can show him the big bad boss. And he's made a reputation out of that. He's got 4 championships. I don't think that's the right way to do it.
No, not that way. But there's still a huge piece to say. I mean, he's still probably top 3 defender.
Did you think the 5-game ban was fair?
I thought he should have got more than that.
Yeah, there was rumours of 10.
I thought he should have got
more.
But
they know that the NBA don't want the stars off the park, so it's always hard to get a big ban.
Yeah, he should have got more than that.
I mean, you can run about with a gun 3 or 4 times before you get a big ban now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The reality is they're overly Steph dependent.
Yeah. I think they lost again today by a landslide to the Suns.
Yeah, they can't score.
And Steph was on the park, so
they can't score. I mean,
they're very small this year as well.
Klay Thompson's a shadow of his former self, and I dare say he won't be getting a contract at the end. But if we close up with the NBA, mate.
Well, just one more thing I'd like to add, because we were talking about the rookies earlier, who was going to be the rookie of the year and stuff. What do you think of Wemby, and what do you think of Chet Holmgren as far as they're probably number 1 and 2 rookies? They were certainly number 1 pick this year and number 2 pick last year.
Yeah.
How are they looking at the moment?
Chet's looking all right. I mean, I think the whole idea is they're trying to integrate him in a team that is. Remember, they've had a lot of early picks over the last few years, and
they got a lot of kids. They've got a lot of stud kids.
Yeah, in the trade. So they've got.
But more importantly, what about Wemby then? What do you think about him? Because he's the great white hope, even though he's not white. But you know what I mean. He's the the next LeBron, the next Jordan, the next whatever.
Yeah,
right?
It's funny. I don't know if you saw the picture of him and DeAndre Fox guarding him. It's like DeAndre Fox was coming up to his hip.
Yeah.
It's like, for fuck's sake. God, when you think about DeAndre Fox is 6'3" and he's literally just at his ribs. How on earth are you supposed to stop the guy like that?
There's things about Wemby that you just can't stop, and that's why there's so much potential. Yeah, ridiculous.
Honest to God.
His 3 shooting's been average about 30% at the moment, but that will get better as well. That will get better. He's got good form.
The guy has every reason why he's
built
up to be the prospect.
What he will learn to do as well is fake the 3 and then drive in, which he's not doing at the moment. When he's ready to sit, because he's young, he's 19. When they throw him the 3 in space, he shoots the 3. He doesn't even think about the drive.
Yeah.
But as he gets older and his 3 percentage goes higher, he's going to be able to fake that and drive straight in for an easy 2 every single time, like Durant does, right?
Yeah.
And when that starts happening, he's a monster who will be anything under 30 points a night will be a disappointment. Like he'll be like a Jokic, but without the assists.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to be. He looks like he's not going to.
I think he'll have the assist because I think he'll be as close to maybe better than a Durant in the fact that he'll be able to do everything. I think, and even lead the offense. What they need at the moment, and certainly for the next 5 years while he grows into the league, is get a really, really good point guard that's going to be able to imagine
he's playing with a bunch of kids at the moment as well. Now, if he keeps that same team together with the great coach they've got, they could be stars. But they just you can see there's definitely a weakness there, and he's the star.
Imagine a CP3 with him, right? And a decent forward
defender. No, and a good defender is it?
Just now they're not going to win the league.
You put a Pat Beverly in there, right? You put a Draymond Green or something, just someone but bully the defense.
Yeah.
And you put in a CP3 to run things. That's a serious
now, in the
team.
league, in the future, in 5 to 10 years' time, I can see Wemby walking the ball down the line as a controlling the offense himself,
like a LeBron type of thing.
Yeah, 7 foot fucking
7 foot LeBron.
That'll be It seems fucking.
If that happens, it's game over for the league.
Which just seems outrageous.
No, but it's game over for the league. They will have a dynasty because it'll be too good.
Yeah. And look, they'll have to add the right piece, but at the moment, what they definitely need the Spurs to really build his confidence. But
it's a good foundation club to be at because you've got the best coach in the world that they've brought through loads of number 1 prospects, and he's got a young team as well. He's not sitting in a team that's ready to win the league now, and he's got.
They should get some decent picks
if he joined the Celtics right now. he's in a team that needs to ready to win right now. That's too much pressure, maybe. Okay, he's joining the best squad in the league, so he's going to be fine. But I think joining the Spurs, they're not ready to win the league, so he will get time to develop under a great coach and under a great team.
Yeah.
And he'll have some 35, 40-point days and he'll look superstar, and he'll have some shit days
Yeah.
where he'll get fouled out or he'll have 10 points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what you need as well, because you need those tough days to toughen you up. If everything goes too well, it softens
Of
you.
course,
yeah,
100%.
you need to actually have a tough first year.
But I dare say, I mean, look, I think for me, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar skyhook is the
Most
best,
undefendable.
most
Yeah,
shot.
definitely.
I dare say his fadeaway might be right up there, albeit I think a fadeaway is probably harder to
That's Miles Harder.
score.
Miles Harder, yeah.
But
He might end up with a hook. You never know. He might
Yeah,
end up. He's in 19. This is the beauty of it. I mean, the potential is exciting.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a
NBA.
wrap for the NBA. It's been a good chat. We will catch up on the NBA next time, hopefully before the in-season tournament's finished. But yeah, we're off to a good start, and thank you for listening.